Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, my daily bulletin show where I bring to you recruitment owners, advisors, suppliers, even investors across the global industry who are prepared to give up some of their time and expertise to help us all navigate through COVID-19, find out what the hell's going on in the world, so that we all come out of this pandemic stronger together. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Adam Gordon, who's the founder of CandidateID. This is a recruitment tech business that are positioned in a way that is right in a niche of their own. They're helping in-house and potentially agencies as well nurture candidate pipelines at a level that no other technology has ever done. Adam's got a really strong brand on LinkedIn. He's always talking, and he was flying around the world, which is something we'll find out about. But he's very active, and he's always out there to help and support. So someone I wanted to find out how he's coping and what he's been seeing and what he thinks is going on in the world. Before I step into the show, I want to mention our sponsor, Rise Recruitment Ventures. This is a brand new investment business on the market that's looking to actively right now invest and support both startups and early stage recruitment agencies. It's founded by two guys that have built and sold a business that was worth over 20 million when they exited in 2016, and now want to help the next generation learn from everything they've done and build world-class businesses that they can grow and sell inside a quicker time frame than 10 years. So John and Alex are there now to give you both their capital, but their expertise. If you're a recruitment owner thinking, you know what, I'm going to do well, I'm going to grow a business anyway, but you think you'd like to have some extra power behind you, then get in touch with these guys. Do it via www.riserv.co.uk today and schedule a call. It's as simple as that. Right, back to the show. Adam, welcome to the RAG Report.
Thanks so very much for having me. I'm honoured to be part of this.
Not a problem, mate. Not a problem. What I start every episode of the RAG Report with the same question is, can you just, for the listeners, paint the picture? What the hell is your life like right now?
I feel really, really bad saying this, but my life is more relaxed than it has been in 10 or more years since I started working for myself. In the equivalent period of this lockdown last year, I had done 18 flights.
Wow.
Obviously, I've done 0 flights this time. And so I've got so much more time. I've got less bags under my eyes. I've also, here's another thing. My daughter's 3 years old. I've really got to know her well. And quite honestly, I feel ashamed about this. I hadn't up until now, because my wife and I tend to sort of divide and conquer at the weekend, and I do things with our son and she does things with our daughter. So it's been very life-changing, this experience. I feel, of course, devastated about all the problems that this has caused for a lot of people, health problems. We've had people dying, we've got businesses going bust and people out of work, and that's really, really shocking. So I do feel a bit bad when I say that I feel relaxed, and I'm not saying that on the basis that it takes anything away from the gravity of the scenario.
Yeah, and I think, look, at the end of the day, mate, we're all aware of what's going on. I think it'd be ridiculous to not consider that, but at the same time, I'm a believer that we've got to focus on our own environment, right? We've got to try and be positive and control what we can control. And it sounds like you've been getting value from your own environment in a way that you probably weren't before.
Absolutely. And I started my career in 1999, and I started in recruitment in 1999, and I'm from a vintage where I was told you really need to try and be in front of people as much as possible. You need to be in the room with them. You need to shake their hand. You need to, see the whites of their eyes. And I think I'd probably carried that kind of way of working on a little bit longer than I should have done. I didn't need to do 88 flights last year. I didn't need to do 104 flights the year before. With hindsight, I probably needed to do about half of those, maybe maximum. So I'm going to completely change the way that I'm working and living based on having really understood a different way of doing it. I mean, my kids are one's nearly 6 and one's 3. And this is the first time since they've been born that I've been so present at home. So it's definitely going to change. I'm not going to go back to flying every single week. That's not going to happen again.
No, I like that. What's your routine in an average day now look like?
Well, it's actually really interesting. So I'm up with the kids about 7 o'clock, and I start working at 8, and then because I'm doing a lot of work with businesses in Australia just now, and so I'm typically on a call at 8 o'clock and a call at 8:30, which is 5 o'clock, 5:30 their time in Australia, and then I'm working through till 11 o'clock. Between 11 and 1, I take over the kids. So my wife has the kids until 11 o'clock. I then have them between 11 and 1, and then we're very lucky. We have an au pair, so at 1 o'clock, our au pair takes over the kids, and it's back to work for the rest of the day. So, although I've got 2 hours in the middle of the day where I'm stepping away from work and looking after the kids, I'm making up for it, of course, at other times. But the other thing is that doing that kind of working in that way, I'm doing like 30 to 60-minute meetings, like pretty much nonstop, like every single hour, nonstop. So I am doing like 7 to 10 Skype, never Skype ideally, 7 to 10 meetings on Zoom or something like that, pretty much every day. And by the time I've then put the kids to bed and whatever, 7:30, 8 o'clock, there are some things I need to tidy up and whatever, but I've done a really good day's work. I've not spent 3 hours traveling, 4 hours, 5 hours traveling in that day, and have another 5 hours worth of actual work to catch up with. So, the inability to go anywhere, the necessity to be stuck in a compound, has just made me think about a different way of living.
So where do you live again?
South side of Glasgow. So I'm very, very lucky. I've never felt as blessed to have a garden. Scotland's not necessarily known for its tropical climate, of course. And I just can't believe how good weather we've had during lockdown. Well, I've literally got a tan.
It's been since the day, hasn't it? Since it closed down, we've almost had sun consistently. I mean, there was a couple of rainy days, and I feel like I've been in this room looking out that window every day. I've not got the tan that you've got, but I'll have to get working on that. But it definitely makes a difference that you can, if this had have happened in, I don't know, February or January when it was crap, or even before Christmas, it'd have been a lot different. So you talked about the travel piece. It's probably an interesting point, right? Because recruitment in general, I'm with you. Like I was trained originally in Melbourne in Australia, and I worked on a Victorian government desk. And my office was in the Rialto Towers in Melbourne. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's the Twin Towers, and you could walk 10 minutes up Collins Street to the government square, basically, and it was just department after department. So when I did about 18 months there, I got like a big contractor book because I just used to go and have coffee with everyone. And actually, I loved it. I put a lot of weight on drinking full fat milk all day, but that's a different question.
The coffee's good there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. But then when I moved to London, I would join Venquis, and I was doing IT and business change into the Lloyd's of London insurance market. And it was exactly the same. The Gherkin is just a square mile of insurance companies, all having coffees and beers from about 11 o'clock on a Monday. But so I just did the same thing. I replicated, and I chose Venquis mainly because of the way they worked. I knew it was going to be replicable, whereas other agencies even then were doing like tech international, and I was like, I can't see myself being chained to a desk. So I was trained to be face to face, and I spent hours face. I think I did 32 meetings in my first week at Venquis face to face. Nuts. But in the last year, I'd already transitioned about 80% of my stuff onto video. So I was already thinking that. How do you think the recruitment old school, if you like, you say 1999 and earlier, how do you think those on the whole are coping with this right now? Do you think there's a lot of people enjoying it in a similar boat, or is there a lot of people hating life?
It's forced a lot of people to do things that are not what they're used to. And really, I've spoken to several recruitment agency owners and CEOs that I know who have said what I just said about, I've got to know my daughter better. They've got to know their kids better because they're not out from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m., 9 p.m. They're not working and living like that anymore. I think in recruitment and beyond, you've got CEOs who today are working in the way that you and I are talking to each other right now. We can. This is a podcast, but we can see each other online and whatever.
Okay.
So, there's going to be a lot of CEOs going, hold on, the world hasn't stopped just because I wasn't in that boardroom face to face with those people. Just because I didn't go and see my customer in, Manila or Paris or wherever. Actually, I'm getting on just as well with my customers, even though I'm not in the same room as them. And so because those people have adapted, they're going to realize there's a lot of efficiency I could create within my business from this. So I think business travel, British Airways said it's going to be 3 years or 2 years, was it, before it's going to get flight levels back to what it was. I think it's going to be 10 years before 2019 levels of flying is happening again. I think, and that's only going to be because of population increase. So I don't think that we're going to be traveling the way that we were. I don't think there's going to be a need to go and visit people the way that there was. And more poignantly, actually, for the workplace and the workforce, what this means, I think, is companies are going to be much less considering who are the best people I can hire within a 15-mile radius or a 45-minute radius of my office. They're going to be thinking about who's the best person in who are the best people in the UK to do this job, or who are the best people in my time zone to do this job.
Yeah.
Not who can get to the office every day. Yeah. I spoke to 5 major employers last week who said they are looking at completely changing their priorities around talent pipelines. So it's not about who's local. Let's build up an addressable market of all the local talent. It's about actually who is the best talent, but across the UK. If they can get to the office 1 day a week, that's what we want. That was what one big retail company said. We're going to be instead of 4 days a week in the office and 1 from home, we're going to reverse it. We're going to want them to be in the office 1 day a week, and that might be overnight at the Travelodge the day before, the night before, on the Sunday night or on the Thursday night or whatever. But that's what 40 quid in outside of London, 50 quid. So that's not a big problem. So I think it's going to completely change the way that we structure our workforce.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally that exact same. I want to go from having we used to have this office in a space where we could fit about 15 of us, but we had about 22 people. So when everyone came, some never came in because they were traveling the world, they were copywriters and stuff. It was mainly the essential roles were like account management, sales, and a couple of internal creatives that were in the office, and the rest were people that didn't have to be. Do you know what I've found the biggest change though is, as soon as we went remote, the people that were working remote became instantly closer to the rest of the team. So like our head of social, a guy called Rafa, who does amazing things on paid media. He, even though he lives in Kingston, he was basically like, he came into the office 1 day a week, and it always felt a little bit like, he's just slightly outside of the group. Like the inner jokes and everything was just not quite the same. Whereas now actually he's like, he's just one of the rest. And I think that's been great. But for me, I'm reversing it. I want to have we used to have a small office with a breakout downstairs co-working where you could go and have meetings, one-on-ones. And then I used to have to pay for a meeting room if I wanted to have like a formal meeting in a nice room. Whereas I want to turn my office into the formal meeting room. Not formal, but some dedicated cool space to have a meeting or a podcast or record video. And then downstairs, which was breakout, is where people can go and work if they come in. And so it's flipping it. So we were spending twice. We're spending on the office and on the rooms. Whereas just have one cool space and have everyone enjoying the co-working functionality. So that's my vision, is to flip even the way, not only the hours, but the way the office looks and the design of it. Why do we need everyone sat around at one table anymore? If they're not used to doing it now. So it'd be weird to go back.
Interesting. So I'm going to do a survey, an anonymous survey. We've got 16 people, and I'm just going to say to them, as of right now, would you prefer to work from home permanently, work from the office permanently, or have a daily choice of where you work? And I think there's probably going to be nobody that will say I want to, mandatory work from home or mandatory work from the office. I'm fully expecting that all 16 people are going to go, I want the choice of where I work whenever I want to work. Do you want to work on the beach? Yeah, fine. Do you want to work, as long as you're getting your job done, you're doing a great job. I don't care if they're on the moon. It doesn't make any difference to me. So we definitely had a couple of people in the business that I think have felt it's important we're all in the same room and we're all together and whatever. But I know for a fact, because I've spoken to both of these people, they don't think that anymore.
A quick interruption of the episode to bring to you a message from our second sponsor, which is Odro. Odro, as most of you probably know, is the world's most powerful all-in-one video interview platform for recruiters. Used by thousands of recruiters worldwide and with some of the industry's biggest names amongst its client base, Odro is a video interview platform. It was developed specifically to help agencies increase their revenues. The most innovative solution on the market, Odro's software helps recruiters to engage more talent, reduce time to hire, and most importantly, it helps you win business. You'll even get the ROI back from investing in Odro within just 45 days. It's designed to benefit everyone in the process, so from recruiters to clients to candidates, Odro's platform is improving the hiring process one interview at a time. We chose to partner with Odro because we felt like both brands, Hoxo and Odro, were in such a clear alignment in the way that we approach everything we do and how passionate we are about helping this industry grow. If you want to find out more about how Odro can help your agency transform its process and win more business, win exclusivity and drive revenue, then click the link on the podcast notes and every social post that goes out, and you will get a call back by one of the Odro guys. They are awesome, and I'm sure they'll be able to offer some amazing value to your business. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show.
We definitely had a couple of people in the business that I think have felt it's important we're all in the same room and we're all together and whatever. But I know for a fact, because I've spoken to both of these people, they don't think that anymore.
The other thing I'm thinking though is, are we going to be so desperate for human interaction by the time it changes that we might all go, well, actually, we will travel further and we will drive and we will, because we've missed it and it's been so restrictive. Are we going to go overboard back, not so much back to the old way, but like just crave that? It might not be, it might be a short-lived thing, but you could have an intense period where everyone's trying to be around each other.
Interesting question. I know some people who are really, really looking forward to that, and they have really missed actual face-to-face interaction, in the same place, going for a beer with somebody or going for a meal or something like that. But then I know other people who, as soon as we're out of lockdown, they're not going to be jumping on flights anytime this year. They're not going to be going anywhere anytime this year. I spoke to somebody this morning who said, where was she? She was in Australia, and she said, they're opening up. Yeah, she was in Australia. She said they're opening up certain things that you can go and do, go and have meals in restaurants and things like that, at like 50% capacity. And she said, like, my family and I are not going to be going out for meals for quite a while, regardless of the fact that we can. So everybody's going to have a different view on this, and some people are going to be feeling very isolated and very lonely and very unhappy as a result of this, and I totally appreciate that. Whereas other people, they'll feel the opposite. They won't be bothered about ever returning to what we had.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah.
One thing I was interested to know about, we had a chat with Hung Lee as well on the show recently, was about the in-house community, because you've gone agency, your product is very in-house focused. How have you seen your in-house clients be affected by this pandemic?
Well, I mean, this is again a really interesting question. So 70% of my customers are in-house talent acquisition teams, and 30% are agencies. And so on the in-house side, companies have gone from anywhere between, we've seen companies that have pretty much stopped operations, and they have actually made talent acquisition people redundant. And then I've seen other businesses where hiring has increased. So it's really remarkable. Our customers are predominantly in STEM type industries. And so, naturally there's been maybe less, they're not consumer facing brands. And so there's probably been less impact. You're not going to suddenly have data scientists walking around London wearing a sandwich board saying you're available. You're not going to have that now. These people are in high demand. And actually, I think because of COVID-19, a lot of companies are accelerating their tech programs. A lot of non-tech companies are accelerating the move to becoming tech businesses. So I think that, hiring in areas like science, technology, engineering, these areas, has, for a lot of businesses, it's either maintained or it's actually gone up. A lot of consumer-facing brands that are like in-home entertainment, things like Domino's, Just Eat, businesses like Ubisoft who make computer games, they're accelerating things because they think people are going to spend more time at home. And they're going to need more in-home entertainment. So it's it's definitely been interesting. But I feel awful for, of course, the people in companies where they furloughed their TA teams. They've made redundant their TA teams. But I think by the end of this year, things will start to even out. I don't believe there's going to be vastly bigger numbers of people unemployed at the end of this year compared to the beginning of this year, in the UK anyway, because we're already quite a knowledge-intensive kind of country. We're not a big manufacturing country like we once were,
No.
like Germany is, or a lot of other European countries, or the USA is. We don't make nearly as much stuff as they do. We design satellites. We do things that are, we've got a much more, using your brain type of, and selling what's in your brain type of economy than most other countries do. So I think that's one thing that probably is in our favor in the UK. And that's probably the first nice thing I've said about the UK in quite a few years, because we've had a bit of a period of...
I know. Well, your product, though, so like for people that don't know, what does it, in the shortest way possible to describe it, what does it do?
It tracks and scores people's interactions with your content. And so the benefits of being able to see who's clicking on your tweets, who's watching your videos on YouTube, who's looking at your profile on LinkedIn, the benefits of doing that is you can build up a really good picture every single day of who are the hot sales leads, or who are the hot candidate leads. And so what's changed since when I started in recruitment is that candidates can get, or sales prospects, but let's focus on candidates. Candidates can get a lot of information about job opportunities today. They can check out a recruitment agency's credentials. They can see their consultant's profile on social media and determine whether they think that person looks credible. They can see their recommendations on LinkedIn. They can see reviews on review sites of what it was like to work with that recruitment business. And they don't really need to talk to a recruiter until they've decided, yes, I want to talk to that business. I want them to represent me. Whereas when I started in recruitment back in '99, I would post a 2-sentence lineage advert in the back of the newspaper, and a candidate would call me, and the first thing they would ask is that my job that you're advertising? Because if so, obviously I don't want to apply. So they didn't know anything. All they had was 2 sentences, my name and phone number. And they'd have to call me at the very beginning of their decision-making process, whereas now they can get right through a lot of their decision-making before talking to a recruiter. So this is, I think, why we want to fill in the blanks in the background in terms of who's cold and who's warm and who's hire ready. That's the way that I categorize candidates: cold, warm, hire ready. Who's cold, warm, and hire ready based on their interactions with your content. And if recruiters are spending all their time talking to candidates who are hire ready, or maybe warm and hire ready, and they've got technology doing the heavy lifting and nurturing all those that are cold, taking the much more marketing-led approach, marketing automation-led approach, then recruiters are going to spend a lot more of their time really doing deals. So that's what Candidate ID is all about.
And how have you been affected by this? Like, everyone's been affected in some way. What was the impact on your business, and how you were, because you're tech growing, getting investment, all these different things happening?
Yeah, I've been lucky in a couple of regards. So we closed an investment round basically pretty much about 2 weeks into the lockdown. It was kind of signed a couple of weeks before, but like in the term sheet stage, but it all landed about 2 weeks into lockdown. So, that timing could not have been better.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. The second thing is that actually we spent 18 months rebuilding our product to make it much, much easier to use. And what we've been offering since March is a much kind of paint by numbers version of what it used to be. So a lot more people are looking at our product videos and going, hey, I can do that. Whereas previously they were looking at it and going, I'm not some sort of nuclear physicist, which is what you might need to use to use the old Candidate ID, or at least some sort of serious digital marketing expert. So that was a good thing. We've had quite a few customers went on pause, customers who were at the in the sort of trial phase, or in the kind of early phase of using candidate ID, and they could go on pause. So I'm expecting all of them to come back, kind of probably Q3, to be fair. But then we've replaced that with new customers as well. So one of the other benefits, I guess, of people not being able to travel has been a lot of people have got through their to-do list. So a lot of people have had a to-do list of important, non-urgent, and they've got to the important, non-urgent things, and they're going, yeah, I've been meaning to look at candidate ID for the last 2 years now. I'm now going to do it because my CFO is telling every department in our company that we need to work out ways of automating. We need to work out ways of doing more with less. We need to work out ways of being more productive. And so that candidate ID looks like it might fit into that kind of enabler category. So I think, you know, I've had a lot of sales interest as a result of organizational priorities around productivity and cost savings and things like that. So a few different answers to your question.
Yeah, it's look, I think you're in a good position because it's, you know, there's a monthly recurring revenue model in the tech space that a lot of I think the recruiters I've spoken to that don't have contract businesses have felt it, I think. And while some are still hiring contractors, and there's others that have got no contract business and they've not even got the skills or knowledge to win contract business. So, you know, perm, if you're reliant 100% on perm revenue, that could be really tricky and really scary times. So it's, you know, I'm glad that you're in that type of position. How do you see COVID-19 affecting or changing the way your business moves in the future from where you were, you know, your aspirations, your vision 2 months ago as compared to where it is today?
Well, I mean, I don't think it changes anything, to be honest. Our goal was to double revenue in 2020. That's what we told our investors we would do, and that's what I'm still committed to doing and still think we can achieve. So I think that's one thing which remains unchanged. I think we have probably become more focused in terms of the types of companies and industries that we're focused on. So yeah, I mean, we now know very, very clearly the companies that have not put candidate ID on hold, they're in STEM. They're hiring engineers and data scientists and things like that, and that's not going to change. So I think that we continue to go, you know, feet first straight into STEM industries. So any recruitment businesses that are focused on STEM industries or any employers focused on that, you know, they're the targets much more so than companies that are hiring more easy people to hire.
Yeah.
They just don't have the same kind of needs, and that's our thinking on that's probably accelerated. The other thing that is a trend which I'm seeing emerging is internal talent acquisition teams being asked progressively more to start working out what does our internal talent pipeline look like, where are our skills in the business, you know, get together a skills matrix and let's store the data. Let's also encourage people to put their hand in the air for internal jobs, and let's create much more of an internal talent brokerage service. Mm-hmm. And that's something, instead of losing people outside because they go into a job which actually we were already hiring for internally and they were just never approached about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing a lot of talent acquisition teams being asked to take on that level of responsibility as well. And lo and behold, there are no tech systems that really do that. The HR systems just don't really do that. So the ability to nurture internal talent pipelines and have real-time access to who are the people that are interested in looking at new opportunities today, that's something that we've got several customers who have come onto, who have extended their use of candidate ID for. And this also fits in with the concept of the more fragmenting workforce. So I think in 5 years' time, we're going to have, most businesses are going to have smaller permanent workforces as the move towards, you know, the gig economy, freelancing, contracting, I mean, I know this changes to do with the way people want to contract because of IR35 and that kind of thing, but I think people do want to be a bit more, they're not as bound to full-time permanent, I'm on the payroll, as they were before. And so as a result of that, the need to have more transparency around what is my talent pipeline, because it's going to be so much more of a moving feast than it was even 5 years ago. It's so much more dynamic than it was 5 years ago. People change jobs more often. That's another thing. People, every year that goes past, the average person is moving job 1 month faster than they were. I think it's like every 2.5 years on average, somebody moves jobs in the UK. This time next year, it's 2 years and 5 months. This time the year after, 2 years and 4 months. And that's the way it's been coming down. So even if you don't hire any extra people next year, you're probably still going to be doing more recruitment. So I do believe, I'm not sure our vision is going to change very much, but I think the extension of your external talent pipelines into looking at the total talent pipeline, including all your internal people, is a trend that I see emerging. And I'm just more and more confident every month that goes past that we're in a good position to cater to that.
What do you think of the reality of training junior people in all sectors? Like that's the pocket I'm most worried about, is the kind of graduate and early 20s community that that were given opportunity at scale before, that maybe I've heard so many conversations about, do you know what, we're going to stick with experienced people in recruitment, but also our clients are only going over after top talent. They're going to try and keep it lean, automate as much as they can. Do you think there'll still be that opportunity for young people to go and try industries and try jobs at the same pace as they could before?
I mean, I think that, yeah, I do. I don't see that that's really going to change. I know where you're coming from, because if you look at recruitment businesses and you look at who they furloughed and who they haven't furloughed, typically they furloughed people who have got less experience. And I can really kind of understand why to an extent, but a company's talent strategy is very much, guides. I don't think that's going to change, and that very much guides the amount of opportunities they create for early careers people. I spent 3 years working at PwC, for example. PwC is an education business. They've got 18,000 people in the UK, of which like 6,000 are brand new every year, and 6,000 will leave. 6,000 are graduates, and then 6,000 qualify, and a lot of those people move off into industry at that point. It's the same with recruitment businesses. We know the companies that do a lot of Hayes is the most famous one. Hayes typically people go there, they get great training, and they leave 3 years. They leave after 3 years, probably to get paid more somewhere else. If they're not progressing as fast as they want to within Hayes. Of course, we know, a lot of the good people, the very best people, they probably progress within Hayes and they stay at the business. But Michael Page, Reed, these companies have all got graduate programs, and I don't think that's going to change. But I do understand your point. One thing I would definitely recommend for anybody who is 30 or under is get into technology. Anybody, I've done talks at my old school. I do talks for young people occasionally, and my number one bit of advice is get into some kind of STEM industry. If you're not naturally a left-brained person and like maths and science is not your absolute forte, it doesn't matter, because tech businesses need salespeople. Tech businesses need, and you can develop, without being a technologist, you can develop like a lot of expertise in the tech industry that will keep you very safe in a future career. So I'd far rather be in something like, tech sales today than selling, a lot of other more traditional industries, which are maybe going to be less needed in the future.
Yeah, and I guess that goes for recruitment businesses focusing on tech and tech industry as well, right?
It does.
Adam, that's all I've got time for today, but thank you so much, mate, for taking the time out. I'm glad that personally things are going well for you, and let's check in again soon. Are you open to any of my listeners reaching out if they want to find out a bit more about CandidateID or just pick your brains on stuff?
Absolutely. I'm very easy to find online, and in terms of the fastest way to make contact with me, adam@candidate.id.
Wicked. All right, I'll get people doing that. Thank you, and we'll check in soon. Guys, Hope you enjoyed another episode of the Rag Report. As I always say, I don't charge you to listen, but I do ask for one favour, and that is that you share this episode. You pass it on to a friend, a colleague, someone you think in our industry will benefit from hearing these stories on a day-to-day basis. In the meantime, I want you to stay safe. I'll be back again tomorrow, but stay safe. Keep in touch with the right people. Keep focused, keep positive, because we'll get through this together, and I'll see you soon.